Come on, you can't do this to me today. I didn't know this. If I would have known that coming in, I think my mentality or my approach probably would have been a little bit different. But when I learned of this at this particular time, it was probably maybe like 15 minutes before the show started. Because mind you, like 45 minutes till me and Marie was on the bus going over the show.
Right.
So by this time, she had to go and get dressed, and I was like, cool, thinking I can go and meet those musicians, and obviously that didn't happen. So when he told me that, I looked at him, I was like, oh my God, like this is crazy. Um, okay. And he was like, and he looked at me, he said, I mean, you good, right? You can do this, right? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, and I'm thinking to myself, he'd never seen me play. And he told me that.
Right.
He was like, I've never seen you play. So I mean, I'm going based off of, you know,
Referral.
what what
Yeah.
people have told me. And
Mm-hmm.
he was like, you got me, right? And I was like, dog, I got you. I got you. And so I had to go and get myself together. Because I was like, mentally, I gotta
Right.
just be prepared, you
Right.
know, and try to remember what was going on in the video visually, you know, what was going to happen and all this other stuff. So, like I said, I started out the whole entire show. It was just drums, and then the dancers came out, and then I brought out a Marie. So, no rehearsal, and in Raleigh, North Carolina, at Walnut Creek, and all this stuff is going on. So,
Home turf. Right.
home turf, you know what I'm saying? Unprepared on home turf. So she comes out, she does her thing, and in the middle of a show, she does something that was unexpected. Somebody was supposed to bring out a chair, and they forgot to bring out the chair. So she improvised, and she started walking back towards the drums, towards me. And I'm thinking to myself, now I didn't see this in the DVD.
Right.
I don't remember this. Now, what is this? You know? So she walks back towards me and puts her arm on my shoulder. And I'm like, I know this wasn't in the DVD because I don't remember this at all. And she looks at me and she says, um, says to the crowd, y'all give it up for my drummer Peanut. And he's from right here, y'all. He's from North Carolina. And I'm like, this ain't the day,
Wow.
this ain't the day to do that.
Wow.
Because I don't know what you about to do right now, you know? And she said, she looked at me, she said, you know what, Peanut? Um, why don't you just play us something? Just anything. Just play us something. Meanwhile, they're trying to figure out how to get this chair back out there for her,
Right.
you know, um, for the next song. So I'm like, play anything? She was like, just play anything. So I just started jamming. I just started just jamming by myself. Ain't no musician, so it's just drums.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not even the kind of kit that it's not even my kit. You know what I'm saying? It's a weird kit. I'll put it like that to you.
Right.
Because I had two bongos in the place of one tom. Um, I had a rack tom here and a floor tom, and some cowbells and stuff. I just walked into something. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying? So I just started just jamming. So I got done, and she was like, "Y'all give it up, give it up." And they went crazy, and I heard somebody say, "Play her," and I'm like, "Oh Lord, somebody is here." So,
It
so
had to be though. It had to be somebody. No
it
way
had to be
you were coming that
right,
close to home and no one was there.
right. So we do that after that show. After that show, she comes up to me, and she was like, she was like, I was so impressed at the fact that you were able to come in here and do this show, and you played it better than the other drummer, and he's been practicing for weeks. She was like, do you mind just finishing this tour with me? And I was like,
Wow.
yo, I said, man, I said, hey Marie, I said, man, I would be honored, man. I said, I just appreciate it. I said, I hope I did it justice. She was like, you did way better than anybody expected. She was like, I would be happy if you would just finish this tour with me. And I was
Awesome.
like, wow. I said, okay, cool. I said, yeah, I'm down. And her manager, Lenny, who was her boyfriend at the time, he said, yeah, man. So let's get you squared away and let's get all this, all the paperwork done. So that way, we can make sure that you're getting paid and getting your per diem. all this other stuff. I had just heard about per diem when I was with Richard Elliott. I didn't even know that was a thing. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
But all that
For those
happened.
that don't know, per diem is what?
Per diem is what you get to take care of your food and everything. That they it's basically, you get payment for your food. They pay for your food basically.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I got all that. I mean, the tour went great. Um, I want to say maybe my third show in, because I was so tripped out about the fact that I was like I was this close to like, to B and Kelly and Michelle and Mario. I was just like, oh, this is amazing. This is awesome. Like, I'm in my mind, I'm having out of body experiences constantly because, especially with Destiny's Child. That's such an epic thing. It was their last tour,
That was a
you
big
know.
moment, right?
Yeah. And I'm just like, man, I remember, you know, uh watching the videos, say my name, looking at these videos of these girls, and it's them.
Right
You know what
there,
I'm saying?
right.
Right there. So maybe the third show in, um, the drummer for um, Destiny's Child, Gerald Hayward, he pulled me to the side. I didn't know that he was watching me, but I know I was watching him. I was taking so many notes, like, yo, this is crazy with it, because he just plays so big.
Mm-hmm.
It's just another pivotal moment in the way that I would approach drums. He
Mm-hmm.
pulled me to the side and was like, "It's like, hey man," this was like during sound check or something like that. He's like, "Hey man, where you from?" And I forgot what Gerald is from, but I told myself from North Carolina. He was like, "Where you learn to play?" Church. And I was like, "Yeah." I'm thinking like, "Yeah, yeah, I learned to play in church." He was like, "Yeah, this ain't church, man." He said, "Don't bring the church to the stadium." I didn't know what he meant by then.
Mm-hmm.
At that particular time, I didn't know what he meant. And he said, all the little stuff that you do, all the little diddles and stuff like that, all that stuff that you do at church that comes off like slick, or, like, oh man, that was amazing. He said, the people way up there, they don't hear that. And I was like, okay. And I'm thinking to myself, well, what does that mean? He explained it to me. He said, when you're playing arenas, you have to play big. Every note counts.
Mm-hmm.
He said all the little, little rolls here and there, little buzz rolls and all that little stuff, ghost notes and all that stuff. He said they don't hear that. He said you got to play for the people all the way up there. That's what you're playing for, not the
Wow.
people down front. He said you need to play for those people up there. If you're gonna do a roll, mean it. If you're gonna do it, they need to hear it. And I was like, wow. So when I started watching him and how he played the show for Destiny's Child,
Mm-hmm.
what he said made so much sense.
It clicked.
It clicked immediately, and I got it. I was like, oh, okay, I get it. I get it. And he told me, he said at the end of the day, you're on these gigs. He said your pocket is way more important than your ability. I said, huh, boy. He hit me with a bombshell. He's like, your pocket is way more important than your ability. He said
Profound.
all those people up there, they don't need to know everything that you can do. All
Mm-hmm.
they need to know is what they hear you doing. And I was like, that's crazy.
So less is more. Less is more. We've heard
Less is
that over and over again. But in this game, in the game of music, this business, it holds true. You're a drummer, and I mean you've got the chops and feels for days. But at the end of the day, this guy has got the gig. This is a historic tour that he's on, and he's telling you less is
Yeah.
more.
He's telling me less is more, man. And placement, all this other stuff, it was just so much that I learned from him on that tour that I was just like, it made me look at the way other drummers would play these tours and the
Mm-hmm.
way they would play them. I'm like, yep, he gave me a bombshell nugget right there.
Awesome.
He gave me a bombshell nugget. And that was my first tour. And I said, I get it now. And for the remainder of that tour, my whole goal was to lock so far in to that track where people would have to say, "Hey, man, do you do anything else other than just play the track?"
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Because
Right.
what
Playing
what
the
he
record.
explained, yeah, what he explained to me was he was like, "You want to be a real live NPC player. You want to be the NPC. You know what I mean? Like you want to be so locked in that you want to be that that in tune. You know what I mean?" And I was like, "Yo, that's it. Just changed the way that I approached like everything musically, as far as even arranging. Sometimes, man, it's like you can't just put everything in a song, you know. So that tour, that tour happened. That went great. Even afterwards, like we did spot dates here and there. That was with A Marie was the first time that I ever been overseas. We went to Abu Dhabi and Dubai, and that was incredible. That was amazing. Now during the tour, we had a an award show performance that we had to do. We had to do the World Music Awards in Hollywood at the Kodak Theater. And for this particular situation, now I was initially told that it was just going to be, a bunch of actors and everything like that, and Sheila E. was going to be the director and everything like that. And um, I'm at the hotel chilling. I'm cooling. What started happening was Sheila was getting frustrated with the actors, the dancers, because one of the main things that she said was Sheila E. was like, I cannot teach a dancer how to be a musician. Who is the musicians that's supposed to be up here with A. Marie? Whoever they are, I want them here. She later found out that it wasn't a they, it was a him. So my hotel phone rings and it's like, hey, there's a car on the way to come pick you up. Sheila E wants you to be here because she wants the drummer to be here. And I said, oh, I said, who?
Right. A
And
drummer of all drummers, right?
right. I said, who? And they were like, yeah, Sheila E wants A. Marie's drummer to be here to play this. And I said, oh, oh my God, let's go. Is it here yet? You know what I'm saying? So I get in the car, we get to the Kodak Theater. They walk me in, give me my credentials and all that good stuff, walk me in, and they take me to the stage. I'm up there and I meet Sheila, and I'm just like, yo, this is like you know who you are right now.
Right. Unbelievable.
You know what I'm saying? Like this is crazy. Um, so I meet her and I get on the drums. Now the drums have silent heads on them, and the cymbals are doubled up so they don't make a noise. And I'm like, what kind of? I'm a drummer. I don't know how to fake playing drums. So Sheila told me, she said, don't fake it. I don't want you to fake it. Play those drums like you were playing for real. And I was like, I bet. I bet. You know, so the way that came off, if we go back and look at it, is crazy because in the very beginning of it, I couldn't hear because they didn't give me headphones. I didn't have in ears or anything like that. I had a wedge, and the wedge was so low that I could not hear the actual track. All I could hear was the slap back. You know what I'm saying? Coming back from the audience, and you can tell in that video, that footage, when it came on, because when I'm playing, you actually see me say, "I can't hear, I can't hear." You know what I'm saying? So it's so funny, but I think by the first hook or something like that, it popped in, and I was able to like, okay, play like I'm playing for real. And I remember, matter of fact, the World Music Awards was when I actually met Kim Burst. That was the
Okay.
first time that I met Kim Burst. The first time I heard her name was through Preston Middleton. And if you remember correctly, Preston was who I met when I was about 15, 16 years old. I was in 10th grade is
Yeah.
when I
It's
met
another
him.
full circle connection right here. Yeah.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Exactly. So um, now, mind you, at this time too, Kim was still with Matthew Knowles.
Hmm.
Um,
Beyonce's dad.
right, Beyonce's dad. Now, mind you, before then, me and Ron, we had been trying to get in contact with Kim like forever, And at this time, she is A&R for Sony, So her busyness was out of control. So when I saw this little lady, this little light skinned lady out front directing, like from the audience. That's when I said, okay, oh, okay, so I guess she's putting this together. That's the first time that I heard the term creative director.
Mm-hmm.
And um, I kept hearing the whoever was in the TV truck saying, "Hey Kim, do you want to run that again? Kim, how do you feel? Kim. I just keep hearing Kim. Like, who is this Kim? You know what I'm saying? And um, I asked somebody, I don't remember who it was that I asked, but I asked somebody, who is Kim? Like, who is she? And they were like, oh, that's Kim Burse. Ding, 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 ding. My light went off. I was like, who is that again? It's like, yeah, that's Kim Burse. You don't know Kim Burse? I was like, I don't, but I'm about to.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually go out there into the audience when we were like taking a break or something like that, and I went and introduced myself. And my end was, hey, my name is Peanut. And, everybody calls me Peanut. My name is Herman, but everybody calls me Peanut. But I wanted to meet you, and this, that, and the other. And I was like, I think you know my uncle Preston. And she was like, who's that? I said, Preston Middleton. Do you know him? And she was like, yeah, that's my brother. I'm like, wow. And she was like, well, how do you know him? And I said, well, I've met him back in North Carolina. I kind of gave her like the spiel, the whole story and everything
Mm-hmm.
like that. And that's when we kind of connected. And it was like, wow. So for me, I was like, wow, I finally met Kim Burse. Now I've been hearing about Kim Burse since I was in 10th grade, you know, 15, 16 years old. I finally met her when I was about 23-ish, 23, 24, maybe. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And um, so that's when we actually met. So I go back and I think about it like, dang, if it wasn't for F, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't have been connected with like, Preston. Without Preston, I wouldn't have been connected to Ron. Without Ron, I wouldn't have been connected to Tyler. Without Ron, I wouldn't have been connected to Courtney. Without Courtney, I wouldn't have been connected to Ava Marie. Without Courtney, I wouldn't have been connected to Kim Burse.
Right.
You know what
Right.
I'm saying? I think
Right.
about that tree. I never forget those things. And I'm like, man, it's only God. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And the importance of, as we talked about earlier, there transitions happen. In this business, people move on. They you don't stay in the same place forever. Musicians tour. Musicians, you know, do more than one record deal. Musicians,
Right.
have lots of opportunities. Right. When you're good, opportunities are going to come your way. The one thing that you don't have to do is burn bridges, because had you
Exactly.
been a bridge burner, none of this would have happened. You may have stumped a tree in the
Right.
early stages, but
Yep.
how, like you said, one relationship literally leads to another, and then there
Right.
are opportunities attached. So the valuable thing to those that are listening is really not the opportunities that you get along the way.
Right.
It's the people that you meet.
It's all about relationships, man.
It's how you treat the people. It's how they treat you as well.
Yep.
But ultimately, it's definitely how you treat others. That's what people are going to remember. And
Absolutely.
you have opportunities to build trust. Like in the case of Courtney saying, "Hey man, you know what you're doing. You cool with all
Right.
it's 15 minutes. They said you can do it, right? Because I didn't have to see you first, and that
Yep.
means everything to someone who's trying to get on their feet. In your case, you were making a name for yourself at this point as a touring drummer. You didn't realize you were becoming a touring drummer, but you
Exactly.
were, right? And so that's fantastic. Now, one major role that you evolved into, obviously, is the musical director for the legendary Monica Arnold. So, talk to us about how you met Monica. How did that come about? And tell me, how long have you been with her now as musical director?
I've been with her for 11 years, man.
11 years. Wow.
11
Okay.
years. Yeah. And the way we met through Kim.
Okay.
Uh, I was at this time, um, me and Ron had started up a band called Simply Irresistible.
Mm-hmm.
And prior to that, this is the second time. Remember, I said Ron. It was the first time Ron left was with Richard. He left Richard to go with Tyler, and I had to basically navigate that thing. You know what I mean?
Right.
So Tyler really started getting extremely busy with his plays and everything like that. And there were months and months and months at a time where, and I'll never forget the very, very first time Ron told me, he said, "Man, I got to go out on the road with Tyler." He was like, you're gonna have to hold this boat down by yourself. You can do it. You've you've been in training for so long. You can do this thing."
And what all were you holding down at that point? What was Ronnie referring to? What were some of the
Um,
things that you had to manage?
just simply irresistible. Period. Just
Okay.
everything music, everything, even with coordination and everything like that. Even just making sure the band period was always just tight.
Mm-hmm.
Even with communicating with clients, like our main person when we got on site. This was after uh, our girl Katie Burgess and Linda. Linda is Ron's wife. Um, they would do the pre-conversations and everything like that before we would get there and everything like that. But when we got there, it was all about communicating with who's on the ground.
Right.
So it would be me and Jamal. And mind you, Jamal is an incredible artist,
He is.
amazing,
Yeah.
amazing singer, amazing performer, amazing writer, all that good stuff. And here's the crazy thing about that. I didn't even know that he was the server in Medea's class reunion until we had a conversation and I had to go back and look at it. Like, that is you,
Mm-hmm.
So it's so funny how, like I said, just how small things are in full circle. It just happens that way. And so there would be times where it would be me and Jamal to communicate with the client, about the do not playlist and what they want to hear, and first song, first dance song, for weddings and everything like that, and father daughter dance, mother son dance. We had to literally go through all of that, and I had to musically manage that to make sure that everybody was on their P's and Q's, from keys to Reggie on keys and Christian on guitar, and we had a few bass players come in, but John Roberts came in, the bass player, left-handed bass player, awesome, came in a few times. We had a few other people that would come in and sub for Ron, um, but as well as our horns, um, uh, Mike Burton and Melvin Jones and Wilbert Williams, and we had a few other people, Frank Hayes, to come in and play and everything like that. But and their own thing in their own in their own right. They have a group called Good Times Brass Band, and
Mm-hmm.
they play horns for some of everybody from Adam
Right.
Blackstone to all kinds of movies, and they just, if I'm not mistaken, they just got a Grammy with PJ Morton not too long ago. So
Yep.
those guys,
Right.
they started out with us in SI when Melvin Jones, he was actually still the band director at Morehouse, and we used to rehearse at Morehouse. But they started over there, and just like everybody else, kind of just evolved and started doing their own thing as a
Mm-hmm.
unit. You know what I mean?
So
So
contrary to what some people might think, you actually you've had some significant experience playing in a corporate or party band. Some people may refer to it as a wedding band, but a lot of people that have those opportunities may be secretly hoping to have the opportunities that you've had on the arena stage one day. When in actuality, you were on the arena stage first and
right,
actually went and chose to play within the luxury events, private entertainment arena, doing things such as wedding and corporate gigs, but was still playing the let's say the A level or the arena level gig. You were still doing. You were basically managing those at the same time. You didn't forsake one or the other. You
right,
just handled it all at that particular time.
right. Yeah,
Okay.
it was a lot of juggling at that time. And when we did start the band, I remember telling Ron, I said, "Man, I said, now you've played in arenas, stadiums. I've played in arenas and stadiums."
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "Man, I said, if we're gonna do this, if we're gonna do a corporate band or a party band or a wedding band or whatever you want to call it, I said, if we're gonna do that, let's bring what we do out there in the arenas and stadiums. Let's bring that energy that vibe, that sound, that that huge sound that we have out there. Let's bring that over here.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So before we go to the Monica thing, I had to make sure I addressed that because it was like we were in the studio grinding so hard. I mean, day in, day out, night in, night out. I was consistently making tracks. And to me, that was second nature because I had already been doing that at Berkeley, you know. So for
Right.
me to listen to stuff and recreate stuff, I was already like doing that, you know, because I had to recreate stuff for Star Search because they couldn't use the actual record because of copyright purposes or whatever. So I
Right.
had to literally go back in and recreate the uh the music.
Mm-hmm.
So for me to do that for our own investment, our own band, it was like, cool. This is what I've already been doing. This is basically what I've been preparing for. I was already in the training grounds to do this. So we did that. So it would be nice where he would be in the booth singing soprano, you know, and singing alto and all this other stuff, you know. And it was nothing different than what we were doing, like I said, for Star Search, because we had to
Right.
recreate literally music and vocals.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Um, and I go back and listen to that stuff now, and it's hilarious. It's funny because my production was not it. TV loved it, but I go back and listen to it now, and I'm like, why? Why did y'all love that? Oh my God, it's terrible, you know. But um, with that knowledge, it kind of got me prepared for, stepping outside of the 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 SI world that I was in, the Simply Irresistible world that me and Ron had built, And I remember telling him, and this was after I gotten the call. Um, Before that, actually, um, yeah, Kim called me about Monica, about doing an arrangement for her song "Everything to Me." Now, prior to that, now this is was really funny and the kicker. My dad, um, my dad told me like maybe maybe a year or so. I'm trying to remember when her TV show was out. She had a reality show called Still Standing, and I watched that every now and again. And my dad, he hit me and was like, "Son, I just don't know. I don't know what it is, but you're supposed to be working with her. You, for some reason, when I look at her, I I see you. You supposed to be working with her." And I'm thinking to myself,
Wow.
man, this dude is tripping. What are you talking about? That I don't know nobody around her. I don't. Wow. I'm in a corporate band. I am focused on this right now. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And so maybe, like I said, maybe like a year or so after the Still Standing reality show, whatever, Kim calls me. Now, mind you, at this point in time, um, the lie that I told Kim, it worked because that's how I got my first situation with Kim. Kim hit me. This was after the World Music Awards and everything like that, and she hit me not long after that and asked me if I could record a drum line for Nelly because Nelly was doing something here in Atlanta and he wanted a drum line. You know what I'm saying? And I said, yeah, sure. I mean, it's a school right around the corner from where I stay. I'm staying with Ron at the time. I'm like, it's a school right around the corner. I'm thinking about McEachern High School. I'm like, yeah, it really is. So I'm not lying about that technically because there is a school around the corner. And I was like, yeah, I could go talk to the band director and just see if I could just record them. Just doing some drum cadences. Yeah, cool. I'm just playing the game because I'm like, man, I wanna do this. Now, what she didn't know was I had already, figured out how to program drums, you know, kit and everything like that. What she didn't know was that I played in marching band.
Marching band, right?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
since eighth grade, ninth grade, I was playing with high school when I was in middle school, that kind of thing. So I had knowledge on how to write a cadence, because I had written in middle school, I had written a cadence in high school for South Granville as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so I knew all the parts, bass one, bass two, 3, 4, and 5. The toms, I do the tom parts because I played toms as well. I do snare parts because I played snare. I had to do that before I played tom. So what I did was I programmed a drum line uh, for Nelly's intro and sent it to her. And she was like, "Oh, that's perfect. That's perfect." So when we get done with this, let's make sure that we thank the band director for allowing us to use his drum line because they sounded amazing. They sounded amazing. So I had to fess up. I had to tell Kim. I was like, Kim, yeah, about that drum line. Yeah, it was actually my core trite. It wasn't no drum line. It was me. And it blew her away. She was like, "What?" I said, "Yeah, it was." And I was like, I was taking the chance. For
Yeah.
me, I was like, well,
Yeah.
is this the last
Blame
time?
A. Marie for that.
Right. Right. Exactly. So I was like, well, I don't know if this is gonna be the last time that we work together or what. But she was like, "Are you serious?" I said, "Yeah." She said, "You don't know what you just did." And I said, in my mind, I said, "I guess I just lost a
Yeah.
job, But she was like, "Nah, you don't know what you just did. You're gonna have a lot of people mad at you because you can do that." Okay. So from then on, we had done so many award shows with just literally just me and her, and we became like mad close. Like that became
Mm-hmm.
like big sister for real. So she eventually called me to do an arrangement for Monica, Monica's song called "Everything to Me." She was performing it on Jay Leno. By this time, like I'm not nervous about things like that. I just want to. I have an excitement now,
Mm-hmm.
because at this point in time, you know, I had been on stage with Jay Z and Young Jeezy for the hip hop awards, playing drums on there, something that I had programmed and played on top of and all that good stuff. And almost every year we were doing some kind of award show. You know what I mean? So it was like, okay, cool, or somebody was doing a TV show that we had to do an arrangement for. So she was like, yeah, I need an arrangement for Everything to Me. I said, cool. I immediately called my dad. I said, Pop, you'll never believe who I'm about to do an arrangement for. And he was like, who? I said, Monica. And he was like, son, I told you, when the spirit talks to me, son, I'm trying to tell you. I'm trying to tell you, Doc. You got to listen to me, Doc. You know, you know. So I told my pop, and he was happy about it. And I was like, cool. And like not long after that, that was in '09, if I'm not mistaken, like the end of '09, something like that. But in 2010, she was going on tour with Trey Songz. And uh, once again, I'm out with my band. That's where my focus is. That's where my head is. Because I know Ron is still out with Tyler and everything like that. And it's never been a moment that both of us were gone at the same time. You know,
Okay.
so this was another transition thing that was going to be weird. Somebody was going to have to step up and make sure that everything was still up to par. You know, because I was still doing tracks for the band. I was still, making arrangements and everything like that. Even though I was out with Monica, I was still finding the time. Even
Mm-hmm.
when I was out on the road, I would be in my hotel room, making tracks. What's the songs for this weekend coming up? Okay, cool. Let me work on that. I'm send this out to y'all. Make sure y'all practice this. So I was still doing that to make sure that my foundation was still cool,
Mm-hmm.
and still letting them know, trust me, I ain't leaving y'all hanging. That
Yeah.
ain't gonna happen.
So you didn't look down on the corporate gig, the party band, wedding band gig, even though you had big things popping, so to speak, right? You still remained faithful to the gig that you had all along, and treated both in essence the same. Neither one got cheated along the way.
At all, because
That's powerful.
to me they were both mine. And at the end of the
Mm.
day, if it wasn't for the training ground, because
Mm-hmm.
that's what it was for me.
That's good.
SI was my training ground. That was like where I got like literally a lot of the knowledge that I had going into the Monica phase. I had that just from the experience of Ron not being there all the time, but me having to step up and be that type of leader
Right.
with them. Because there were times I would get off the drums and do the choreography with the front line. Yeah, what I'm saying. I would do that just to show them, like, hey, look, let's get down. I'll get down with y'all. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
So it was, to me, it's always that. It's still music. and you're still playing it for an audience is the way that I look at it. You know what I mean? So, uh, went out there on tour with Mo and the whole Trey Songz thing, and that was great. That was amazing. Um, and that call happened because of William Burke. Like he's the one that actually told Kim. Now, our clique, we have like maybe five of us um, in our Be Creative team, and I call it the Kim Burst family. That it's like five of us that are like tight knit. So Will was the one. William Burke was the one that told Kim, "Hey, why don't you call Peanut? Because everything that you're looking for right now is not here, and you need to call him." So she obviously called me and was like, "Bro, what are you doing for the next couple of months?" And I was like, "None, just out here with my band." And she was like, "Cool. Well, you think you could find a sub?" I was like, "Yeah, this sounds pretty serious. What's going on?" And she was like, "I need you to fly out to LA. I need you to do this tour." And I was like, "Okay, well, who's the tour with?" And she was like, "It's with Monica." I said, "Oh, this is crazy." So I'm about to go on tour with, I said, "Oh man." I said, "Okay." I said, "Kim, are you serious?" And she was like, "Yeah." And I had to fan out with Kim before I got there. And I told Kim, like, "Kay, like, I'm such a major fan. Like, you don't understand. Like, I used to have to sneak and listen to her music." I said, "Are you serious right now? I'm gonna be on tour with her." And she was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Okay, let me get myself together." So I'm the only country boy out there. Everybody else is from LA. Jamario Ortiz. He's a bass player for Bruno Mars. And he got discovered because of the whole
Yeah,
Diddy,
making his
what
band,
was
right?
called making his band. That's what it was. Yeah. So so he was the only other country boy out there, but he ain't been home like that. So he's basically LA at this point in time.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? He's basically LA. So I get out there and I'm like the 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 black sheep. Everybody else has their LA camaraderie and everybody know each other because they was either on making the band together or they sung together or all this other stuff. So I remember the feeling that I felt walking in there. Now, mind you, they had already been practicing for 2 weeks.
Okay.
When I came in, I had 2 days before Monica was there. So 2 days of practice and versus their 2 weeks. So they had a jail that was already there. You know what
Right.
I
At
mean?
that
They
point.
were, yeah, they were already like they knew how each other felt and everything like that. And I'm coming in, I'm just being inserted into this situation. So needless to say, uh, it wasn't a warm welcome. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
It was not a warm welcome at all. Um, it was interesting. You know what I'm
Were
saying?
you replacing someone? Is that why it wasn't
Yeah,
warm? Okay.
yeah,
So they were attached to the other person.
yeah. And it was like their homie.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So yeah, it wasn't necessarily a warm welcome. So, but after a while, um, as time went on, like I think, I think what it was, I think what it was, after I thought about it, it was probably like, well, who is this guy that she's calling? What makes him special? Why is he being flown in from Atlanta? Who is he? And I think that's probably the perception of what it was. In my mind, I'm just like, man, I'm just happy to be here, y'all. Like
Right.
this is, I'm like, man, I'm just excited. Like, what do
Great
we do?
opportunity. Right.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And it wasn't until when Mo and Shannon got there, because she was married to Shannon Brown at the time. I remember when they walked through the door, all of us was like, "Is that Chris Brown's brother?" Because Shannon Brown and Chris Brown, they at that time they could have came across as like related or whatever. Um, but I remember when they got there and I saw them walk through the door and I saw her for the very first time in real life. I was like, wow. I had another moment of like, yo, this is really happening. You know what I'm saying? And it was kind of like that. It was like that even with Kelly when I played with Kelly Rowland for a little bit. It was the same thing when I first actually met Kelly. It was like, dang man, you the real. This is crazy. I'm from Butner. We don't get, we're not desensitized to that from where I'm from. Like everything is appreciated. It's like, man, this is really awesome. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so when I finally met Mo, it was just amazing. It was just dope. And she pulled me to the side. I think the second day, because I think we only rehearsed. I know I rehearsed 2 days, and then they got there. So I think we rehearsed like for 2 days with her before we actually went out. So I didn't have like a whole lot of time to tighten up and get things straight. But like the second day that she was there, I think she was there for 3 days. So the second day she was there, she actually pulled me out when we was taking a break. She pulled me to the side, and she's like, hey, so you Peanut, right? And I was like, yeah. And she was like, so I kind of heard, some of the guys in there, they've been kind of giving you a hard time. And I was like, yeah, I mean, it's cool. She was like, you sure? And I was like, yeah. And I told her, I said, to be honest with you, I was like, I'm not worried about them. I said, I'm not out here to play for them. I said, I'm out here to play for you. I said, at the end of the day, if you're happy with what I'm doing, I don't care about what they're saying or what they're doing or whatever. I said, I care about what I'm doing for you. And I said, if I'm making you happy, then I'm ecstatic. I said that honestly, and I was looking at her in her eyes and telling her that. I said, honestly, that's all I care about is making sure that you're good and that you're cool. That's all that matters to me. And she was like, she always makes that face. She's like, that's cool. Okay, that's cool. And I think right there was the beginning of a bond
A
right
connection,
there.
right.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Because not long after that, we took another lunch break, and I went and got some hot wings. Everybody else was like, getting their little wraps, their little salad, and all this other. Hey man, tell me where the wings at, man. I
Right.
need some hot wings.
Right.
And I'm just, I'm unapologetically country. I don't care. I'm in LA. Hey man, I don't care. I'm from North Carolina, man.
Mhm.
You know, and I think that's probably what it was too, because she country. She from here. She from Noonan, Georgia. College Park. So she country. So I think that in itself also kind of played into like, okay, cool, because I felt the countryness there, and it wasn't like push off kind of thing. It was like, yeah, yeah, okay, yeah, I dig him. Hey, he cool.
We
So
musically hitched with a country connection.
come on now, you know what I'm saying? That's what I'm talking about, man. You know what I mean? So just before Kim left, and this was like just before our first show. This was the last rehearsal, and Kim pulled me in. Now, mind you, I'm not the musical director at this time. The keyboard
Right.
player was the musical director, but she pulled me over to talk to Mo, to Monica, and she explained to her, because nobody wanted. That's what the issue was. Nobody wanted to have the responsibility of pressing play on that computer, because that's a big deal. Now, mind you, take it back to SI. I've been doing that for years.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So that's why I said,
Running playback. So basically, this is not for the faint of heart.
right,
This is something this is an addition to your job as an instrumentalist on the stage.
right.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I had already been doing that with SI. Like I said, SI has always been my training ground. I think back and I look back to some of those tracks that I made, and I mean, I can't tell you how many. I don't know. I probably did maybe 300 or some odd tracks, man, just over
Wow.
the years. Yeah, like the list is long, it's crazy, medleys and everything. So knowing that and having that already in me, like that was second nature to me, to like,
Right.
because that was asked of me. Will will you be able to run Pro Tools? And I was like, yeah, sure.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, is that a problem or something? You know what I'm saying? So
This is an edge too. This is separating you from So if they didn't like you before,
Yeah, like right.
now let me give you something to not like me over for real.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And that's eventually that became something different after the first couple shows. They was like, oh yeah, this dude is dope. Like
Yeah,
he's
right.
cool.
He's the real
And
deal.
he
Right.
and the thing of it was I wasn't, I wasn't holding myself to that. I wasn't going around bragging and boasting about what this is what I do,
Right.
da 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 da.
Right. Right.
My thing was let me just work. Let me keep my head low and let me just work. I don't need to brag and boast about everything that I do. Let me just keep my mouth shut and just show you what I can do. Especially in that kind of environment, there was to me, I didn't need to say anything, because whatever perception they had of me, I felt like maybe my work ethic can help them see that, hey man, I'm no better than anybody else here. I'm just doing my job. That's
Right.
all I want to do. I just want to play music. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And just before we went out, like I said, Kim pulled me aside and pulled Mo to the side and explained to her, because one of her things was, well, what if I want to change something in the show? What if I want to do something different or whatever? And you're not here telling this to Kim. And Kim was explaining to her, well, this is my right hand man right here. All the award shows that we've been doing through the years, he's my Pro Tools guy. Yeah, he plays drums. He also plays keys. And she said, oh, I think that flew over her head because she forgot all about that. But what stuck in her head was that if she wanted to change something in the show, she could, and Kim didn't need to be there to do that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So she tested that. After Kim was there for like the first two shows. And like maybe like the third or fourth show in, I think Mo wanted to test that out because she came to sound check and she asked the MD at the time, she said, you know what? I think for tomorrow's show, I want to do this song, a song called Superman, off of the Still Standing album. I want to do this song tomorrow. I want to take this song out and put Superman in. Can we do that? And he looked at me like, yeah. So Monica wants to do Superman tomorrow. Can we do that? You know what I'm saying? And I look back at him in my talk, man. I was like, yeah, we good. We can do that. I can work on the track tonight at the hotel and have it ready for sound check tomorrow. And he was like, you sure? I was like, yeah. And he looked at her, he said, yeah, we can do that tomorrow.
He just knew he wasn't going to do it. If it got done, it was not going to be him. All right.
Yeah, that's what it was. So next day for sound check, um, we rehearsed it in sound check, and uh, she asked when she finally got there. She asked, "Well, can I hear the new song?" And the guys, this was the turning point with the guys when I showed up to sound check and played it on the computer, and they were like, "Oh wow!" They were like, "Yo, he cold, he cold." So that's when I was like a part of their crew now.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? It was like I was welcomed into their
Right.
particular unit and their family. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? It was like, man, okay, now and I felt even more comfortable then. You know what I mean? So when she came in and heard it and was like, yeah, let's do that tonight. She was happy and excited.
So artists, let your work, producers, songwriters, let your work, executives, let your work speak for you.
Oh yeah,
No
absolutely.
questions. No questions. Once you press play, there was no discussion. It was either going to hit or it was not. Right.
That's it. And I'm telling you, Diddy said it best when he released the album called Press Play. That's it. Just press play. You shouldn't have to say nothing else. Just press play. Because this is going to do the talking. I shouldn't have to say nothing at all.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So that tour happened. It was a very successful tour to the point where we was hitting so hard. Like, we was coming with the pain. You know what I mean? But and I think that goes back to just even in the early days of music, we're all pushing each other. It's a I guess you can say friendly competition, if you will. But we were all definitely pushing each other to the point where, like I said, like his people started saying, okay, look, they're good. We need to practice. We need to rehearse.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And honestly, I took that, as a compliment of our squad.
Sure.
I
Sure.
I personally took it like, man, I'm a part of a dope team.
Hmm.
You know, my team is this dope where the other team said, well, y'all not gonna get no sound check today because we're gonna take y'all sound check to rehearse. I was like, I looked at each and every one of them and I was like, man, I'm so honored to just be a part of this right here. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like, because each and every one of them came with the pain. I mean, they like, I mean, there was nothing that they couldn't play or sing. You know what I'm saying? And they were killing. It was all guys. You know what I mean? And so we did that tour. That was great. And after that, that's when things started to change. We hadn't done a show for a while. So in my mind, I was like, cool, well, I guess that was it. At least I can say, you know what I'm saying, that I went on tour with Monica. That for me was like, man, from 14, 15 years old to sneaking to listening to her music. And I finally was able to go on tour with somebody that I admired so much. So for me, the books was written. I was good. Went back out with my band, SI, focused on that. I get a random call. And at that time I wasn't necessarily, I don't think people were like screening their calls like that or whatever, right? So um unknown number, you know, it just said unknown or private or whatever. And I picked it up. I was like, hello? He said, hello, this Peanut? I said, yeah, this him. I'm trying to figure out who it is. He's like, hey, Peanut, this Monica. I was like, who? It's Monica. I was like, all right, cool. Click. I hung up. I straight hung up because
Wow.
I thought somebody was playing on my phone. I straight hung up because I'm thinking to myself, she ain't gonna call me. How she even get my number in the first place? Why would she call me?
Right.
Stop playing on my phone. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? Like, well, I don't have time. I'm doing stuff right now. The phone rings again. Once again, it's either said private or unknown. I picked it up. Hello? I had an attitude this time. Hello? She's like, Peanut, this Monica. Like Monica. I was like, I'm sorry. My bad. And that's when it hit me immediately because I could hear the tone of her voice.
Hmm.
And I said, oh wow, this really is her. And the funny thing is, she probably won't even remember that story. But she called me about that because we were doing another show coming up or something like that. But she said, she was like, I wanted to call you personally because um, I want you to be my MD. I want you to be my musical director. And I said, oh,
Wow.
I said, okay. Um, well, what about the and I couldn't even get my sentence finished. She was like, don't worry about all that. Don't worry about all that. She was like, I just want you to find some bandmates, and for right now, we'll still use the singers or whatever that we have, but I need you to put a band together, and I want you to be the musical director. I said,
Wow.
okay, okay. And she was like, we got time. The show isn't until, like next month or something like that, something of that nature. And I was like, okay, okay, cool, cool. And I was like, you sure? Like, what about, the other guys? And she said, don't worry about the other guys. I'll take care of that. And I was like, wow, okay. So needless to say, the same type of thing, I had to get into that frame of mind that I was in when Ron left to go off with Tyler again, because now it was like she was turning, she's the owner of the ship, right? She was like, okay, I'm changing the guards. This is going to be the new captain of the ship now. So for me, I still had the three background singers from LA, and they wasn't really excited about that. They wasn't really hype about that. So I had to click into that mode of like, okay, how would I handle my band? I need to I need to make that transition the same way. Like the way I handle I need to handle Monica's team the same way.
Hmm.
Because if she's putting it in my hands, then that means that I have to take the experience that I have being in this particular position, bring that over here, which I
Right.
did. So I had to set some rules in line, set some rules in motion or whatever, the same rules that I had over there with SI. I just brought them over. You know what I'm saying? I didn't do anything different because that's what I knew. and that's what I
Okay.
was comfortable with. You know what I'm saying? And it was fair stuff. It was always fair and reasonable and professional. So that eventually happened. Eventually, it was like, okay, cool. I want you to find singers now. And I was like, oh, okay. And she was like, eventually, basically, she was like, everything musical, it's all you. It's all you.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever you want to do. You tell me what we're singing, what you want me to sing, this, that, and the other. It's all you. It's on you. And I was like, wow. And of course, I had to call Kim because Kim is like my big sister for real, man. Like she's my filter because her experience in this is just like just like I said with Ron, it's just up there. You know what I'm saying? So calling her and asking her like, what do I do in this situation? How do I handle this? I've never been hands on with an artist before. Even when I was with A Marie, I wasn't calling the shots.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't making the arrangements. I was
Right.
playing what I was told because they already had their show put together.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I wasn't in the position of putting an artist show together. So I was literally learning on the job with that because
Exactly.
I had no experience in that. Monica is my first time being in that particular role. So I don't know. It just blossomed into what it is today. And mind you, in 2012, I'll never forget this. In 2012, at Battle of the Bands, I was coming back from uh, a trip with SI overseas, Anguilla or something like that, and she was telling me that she was doing Battle of the Bands, but she didn't want a band there, you know. And I said, "Well, you gonna do tracks?" I said, "Is it going to be a band there already?" She said, "Yeah, it's going to be a band there, but I don't trust them to play my music." And I was like, "Cool." I immediately went back to my A. Marie days. I said, "Well, what we can do, sis? Let's do this. How about I create an arrangements, I put everything in the box, and I can make it sound like a full band, and it'll just be me playing." And she was like, "Mm-mm, I don't trust that. I don't believe that. I don't believe it at all." And I was like, "No, I said, I'm serious. Trust me on this." And I pulled up the footage of when I was with A. Marie. And she was like, "Oh, okay. Okay." So we tried it. And I said, "Just trust me. Let's just try it this one time. If it doesn't work, hey man, put all the blame on me." I said, "But trust me. Let's just try it." So we tried it. We did it. And it came off like crazy. Day Day was actually there. And I didn't know Day Day had actually moved. Actually, no, he hadn't moved yet. He was visiting. I think he was visiting ATL at the time, but he was there at Battle of the Bands, and he didn't know it was me on drums until my face came up on the jumbotron, and he said he thought it was a full band playing until he saw the close-ups. So from then on, Mo was like, "Okay, you got to be there every show now because I can't have it without this." So 11 years later, man, still here, man. We've done the Code Red tour, we've done the Great Escape tour. That was the most recent one. Um, and actually, we're gearing up for another for what she wants to do as soon as this COVID stuff is over and all this other stuff. But I mean, like I said, 11 years later, man, through everything. I mean, and when I say she's been there through literally everything, like you know, you know, I got married, she got married, I got divorced, she got divorced. I mean, we've seen each other through a lot of things other than just music. You know what I mean? And that's why I'm always calling her sis. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean?
Right.
But you know what I mean? Because it's like what people see is one thing, but it's like even behind closed doors, behind the stage and everything like that, like she's still the same genuine person, man. That's just down to earth and so cool, man. You know what I mean? So cool. So I think what my dad saw was real. I mean, obviously,
Absolutely.
because I didn't believe him when he first said it, but like now it's just commonplace that wherever she goes, musically, I more than likely I'll be right there beside her or behind the scenes. You might not see me, but you're more than likely you're gonna hear me.
Yep.
You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? Like most recent thing was probably the verses, that we did with Brandy
Mm-hmm.
and everything like that.
Which was huge.
Yeah, that was major, man. That was crazy. And literally the morning of, we was up until like 6 in the morning, um, just talking about the music and what we would play if Brandy played this and this, that, and the other, and all this other stuff. It was like we were up, like working on that stuff. The whole team. It was me and DJ Mars, her management team, and her just at the studio, just going over songs. Even had Ludacris on the phone, like giving us pointers and everything like that, as far as like communication. And you know, um, one of the main things was, well, how is she gonna know which song is next? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And one of the main things that came up was, well, maybe we can have some cue cards or note cards or whatever, And she was like, I ain't gonna be able to see that. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, why can't we just use her in ears? Why can't whoever the hairstylist is cover her in ears up? All she needs is one.
Mm-hmm.
And if she has one, I can talk to her throughout the whole entire verses, giving her producer points like, hey, look, this producer was on this record. Make sure you mention this, da 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 da. When I'm going down my list, if Brandy's playing this song, okay, cool. Mo, your next song is gonna be da 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 da. And she has the gift of gab so great. It doesn't matter whatever the subject is, she can just click right in and just go right into it, because she does it for every show. So knowing that, I said, okay, we're gonna give her in ears. Give her one ear and just put me in her ear, and I can talk to her and talk her through the whole verses.
Mm-hmm.
And the way it came off, I was looking at the comments. People were like, dang, it just seemed like she just know everything that's about to happen, you know? And the reason she did was because our team is so tight. We communicate like that. Our communication is so tight, where, especially with me and her on stage, sometimes it's just a look. After all these years of doing shows together, sometimes it's just a look,
Mm-hmm.
or her body language, because I'm always watching her, when she's, wherever she is on stage, I'm watching her, like, how she feeling. Sometimes she might not be feeling that well, and I can tell just even by hearing her talk or whatever. But just over the years, I've been able to develop that kind of stage relationship with her, where we kind of, like I said, it's almost like telepathy. Almost, we can just communicate and just know what the other person is thinking. Like sometimes if she wants to skip a song, I can almost tell if she's coming back to the drum shield. She might look at me and just maybe nod or something, and I'm like, okay, I know what that means.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody else, they don't know what that means, but because we've been doing this for a while together, we can kind of communicate that way. You know what I mean?
What makes a great musical director?
To me, and my definition might be a little different than everybody else's. Um, but I think, in my personal opinion, um, and I can only speak from my perspective, you know what I'm saying, and what I do for Mo, and what I do for Tamar. But to me, a great musical director is first of all being able to relate to the artist, being able to relate to your artist, being able to understand where they're coming from musically, where they're coming from personally, because a lot of the times that's what it is. Their personality will go into their music and everything like that, their show or whatever. Um, you know, uh, being able to adjust, being able to make sure the players around you and the singers around you are capable of following your lead, um, and you also being able to fall back sometimes and maybe follow one of their leads. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I'm saying? Because I think at the end of the day, there's been times where I've had to fall back and rely on some of my other players to say, hey, look, what's this part right here? What y'all think, man? You know, at the end of the day, to me, uh, a musical director is not a dictatorship. It's more of like, okay, cool. let's find out who has the best idea, or what sounds the best, or what works the best. Because at the end of the day, they're only going to hear one sound. They're not going to just hear keyboard player. They're not going to hear just the bass player or the drummer or the whatever. And singers as well, it's the same thing. It's more about the blend than it is about them individually singing. Even though we have a moment in the show where the singers get a chance to blow and everything like that, it's still, for me as an MD, it's about their actual blend as a unit. You know what I mean? So I think as an MD, I think it's a lot of those things that come into play that can't be necessarily swept under the rug or neglected. You know what I mean? Because if one part is off, then it's not just one part; it's everything that's off. All the way down to, for me, um, there was a point where before every show, I make sure before every show, I always put my eyes on her. I have to see her. I have to make sure that I'm around her. Hey, how are you feeling today? You know, do you need anything? To the point where I have a care bag in my computer bag. Because I know before every show, she usually likes to have like a cough drop or something like that, or some warm tea. So I'm always like making sure before that happens, before she gets on stage, that she's always comfortable. Whatever I can do to make sure that she's comfortable. Hey, well, how was your day today? You know, okay, it was cool. Okay, well, everybody's cool. How's moms and pops? How's the kids? Everybody's cool. Okay, cool. Because at the end of the day, once she gets on stage, everybody else is going to see that. It's going to see her. So making sure that she's cool before she goes on stage is the most important thing to me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I mean, even on down to every show, after every sound check, I always make sure her IEMs is clean. I have a Jody vac that I carry with me for every single show. If she comes to sound check, as soon as she gets done with sound check, I got my alcohol swabs. I wipe them down, take my vacuum, I clean them out. So that way, every time she puts those ears on, it's perfection. You know what I'm saying? All the way down to even sound. I don't run sound. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? We have an amazing sound engineer. This guy named Joseph Spencer. Crazy. I mean, he's got all of us spoiled. You know what I'm saying? I remember when he first came into the team with us, we clicked so easily and so quick because we come from the same background. He's a PK, plays keys like crazy. Wouldn't even think of it until he sits down at a keyboard and plays it. But the way he runs sound is so impeccable and is so amazing that, to the point where our background singers don't even come to sound check no more, because he's
Wow.
got he's got them learned like that. He's got them learned down to a T. So um, as an MD, it's like I'm looking at all of those areas, because there's one thing that I said to myself once she gave me that baton in 2011, when she gave me that baton and said, I want you to be my MD. I put on that hat and I took pride in it. I said, okay, cool. What does that entail? And when she was like, when she told me it's everything musical, that's you. I said, cool. So for me, it's all of those things, paying attention to all those things to make sure that not only is she comfortable, but making sure everybody that's on my team is also comfortable. And a lot of the times, the MD is probably the most uncomfortable position to be in,
Mm-hmm.
because of all the responsibility. For me personally, all the responsibility that I hold, it's like it's not necessarily the most comfortable position to be in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The MD is working many hours after the show is over,
Before and after.
many weeks before the shows start. I mean, they
Yeah,
it's a nonstop 24/7 role.
absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. It's a lot that goes into it, especially when you're preparing for a show and all that stuff. It's like, you know, finding the right rehearsal space and all this other
Mm-hmm.
stuff, production stuff. I mean, because our team is small. We don't have like a whole bunch of people doing this, a whole bunch of managers, a whole bunch of production people. We're a small, impactful team. So a lot of us wear a lot of different hats.
Right.
You know what I mean? So when I'm on the phone talking to production people, they're asking me, well, who's the production manager? Well, you're talking to him. Oh, I thought you was the musical director. I am him as well. You know what I'm saying? But and so that's my particular definition of an MD. And I only say that too because, you know, it takes me back to SI. God got a lot of pride and stock into that band. I'm not with that band anymore. I haven't been with that band since like 2015, something like that, 2016 or whatever. But like I said, a lot of that, a lot of that just, like I said, transitioned and carried over into my other team,
Mm-hmm.
and the family that I've built over here, you know. So like I said, my definition of an MD is probably a bit different than the average person or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
because I know for me and what I do for Mo, for Big Sis, I go above and beyond to make sure that, she's always comfortable and cool before a foot hits the stage.
Right.
I've had people, I've had promoters and everything like that, um, come to me, asking me, hey, well, when is she going to be here? When is she going to be here? When is she going to be here? And that kind of thing, or, giving me times as far as like what time, we're going to start, what time we're going to end and everything like that. And the average person, average MD, that's not necessarily their lane, what I'm saying, to even deal with. Their lane is just technically musical direct.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure the music is right. Make sure the musicians know the music. Make sure the singers know the music. All the extracurricular stuff technically doesn't involve that. So my particular definition is that it's just basically taking care of everything so that way your artist doesn't have any questions about anything that's going on behind them. And that's always been my goal. If you turn around, you only turn it around to smile at me or to tell me, we're, dropping a song or skipping a song or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So to me, I mean, that's my particular definition, man. I know a lot of people probably don't even realize um, what goes on behind the scenes as far as like what I do with her and and with Tamar. It's just, I think it should always be that way because if I'm constantly saying I'm doing this, saying I'm doing that, saying I'm doing that, saying I'm doing this, it's kind of taken away from what's actually happening
Mm-hmm.
musically.
Right.
Everything to me should happen so seamlessly, so smooth that it should seem like it's a lot of people that's doing this, that, and the other. But like I said,
Right.
in our team, a lot of us are wearing multiple hats, sometimes 3 and 4 different hats. But because we have that capability of doing that, it's a seamless, thing. It's just a seamless action whenever we go anywhere. And especially like when we show up, people be happy when we show up. They're like, oh snap, okay, yeah, Monica's on the bill. Okay, well, I know Peanut gonna have it straight, you know. And everybody in my crew, I always keep people around me that's down to earth, just like me, cool. You know what I'm saying? I always felt like arrogance was a thorn.
Mm-hmm.
I've always felt like arrogance was a cancer. So it's like I always try to make sure that people around me can laugh and joke and not take themselves too seriously, and can literally be down to earth and not always, I've been around some people, man, that just, I mean, they just talk about themselves all the time, man. And I just be sitting there like, well, I just play drums, and my wife, she would get on me every now and again when people ask me, like Lil P, she said, babe, you do more than play drums. You know what? He does this, he does that. And I'm like, I had to tell her, like, I'm not used to doing that. I'm used to just doing my work and letting that
Mm-hmm.
speak for itself,
Right.
you know,
Right.
because I've always said, I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be that guy
Mm-hmm.
that's like, yeah, I do this, I do that. And, I never want to be that guy. I wouldn't even raise that way.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, I'm going to ask you to promote yourself as we bring this episode to a close. This has been phenomenal, but you're a songwriter, a producer, but you're also an artist. You've got new music So tell us about your latest release.
The latest release is called Because of You. And everything in that record is coming from a real place. Um, it's about the love of my life, and just reminding her, it's because of you that I'm who I am today. You know what I mean? And honestly, if it wasn't for Lil P, I don't know, where I would be. So, because of you is coming from a real place of just true love. And honestly, it's like I think that's something that's missing in the industry today, is like just real true love songs, man. There was something I heard Diddy say a while ago. He was like, "We living in a soulless world." He was like, "We're living in a soulless world. It's not like, when Big was here, and Pac was here, we living in a soulless world. Where's the real music at? Where's the timeless music?" He was like, "We got a lot of one-hit wonders out here." He was like, "I didn't know one-hit wonders became the thing to be now.
Wow.
Where's the music?" And I was like, it blew me away. I was like, yo, that's so real. So I'm an 80s baby, so I'm a 90s music baby all day,
Right, right.
So to me, my biggest my biggest artist that I really dig is Joe. Joe and Tank are my two favorite um, artists. Um, and first time I met Joe, I was like, "Oh, this is crazy." This is crazy. And to see him sing live, I'm like, wow. I became even more of a fan. So a lot of the music that I do make and write for myself, is it just has that feel to it, that 90s feel good R&B, you know. And that's me.
Awesome, awesome. Well, what parting words of wisdom, encouragement, advice would you like to leave with the listening audience today as they walk along their own musically hitched journey? What would you like to leave with the people?
I would say look in the mirror and be honest with yourself, and don't let anyone tell you who you should be. You should be who you are musically, who you are as a person, and and leave it right there. And when you get off the stage, make sure that you leave it all on the stage. Because if you leave it all on the stage, that means that you literally gave it everything that you got.
Mhm. What's next for Herman Peanut Johnson?
Well, what's next, man, is I'm working on a lot of different projects. I'm still working with Kim Burse on a lot of things. She's musical director to J Lo and everybody else, but mainly J Lo. So probably 5 years down the line, I'm looking to have my company up and running. My company is called Gifted Child Entertainment.
Okay.
Uh, but getting that off the ground and just really starting to give back and open up doors for other artists and musicians that's coming up. And
Mm-hmm.
basically doing the same thing that was done for me through F, through Preston, through Ron, through Kim, through Courtney,
Awesome. Awesome.
all those people, and just giving back the way that it was given to me.
That's awesome. Gifted Child Entertainment. I couldn't think of a better name for your company, man, that fits you to the T.
Yes,
And
sir.
if you are definitely looking for someone to bring musical excellence to your presentation, whether it's you as an artist, if you're a songwriter that needs music, if you're looking to have your arrangements revamped, enhanced, I could not think of anyone better than Mr. Herman Peanut Johnson. He is a master at his craft. He is absolutely just
Appreciate it,
that.
man.
He's a gifted brother, and I'm glad to call him friend as well as a colleague in this industry. So this has been another episode of Musically Hitched.
Musically Hitched.
We look forward to seeing you next time. Take care.
Yes, sir.
Supporting this podcast is easy. Just hit the subscribe button. See you on the next episode.